Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates tonight. My name is Ron Tyler. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody to our program tonight. Folks, we have some very important things to talk about. Our primary topic tonight is Cascadia. Yesterday we had another large earthquake in the Cascadia subduction zone over by Vancouver Island. That's why we're going to be talking about this tonight. First thing I want to talk about, though, is an earthquake that happened today. Okay? This earthquake happened in Iceland. Okay? You can see the picture of it right here. You have it here at the top of this map. It says a 4.9 earthquake. However, there's something else you need to know. Okay? You need to know that this came out first as a 3.7 earthquake. It came out first as a 3.7 earthquake. Let me enlarge this so you can see it. Okay? Came out as a 3.7 earthquake. It was actually 3.5, I'm sorry. First came out as a 3.5 earthquake. Then they gradually increased it to a 4.3, a 4.5, a 4.7, then up to a 4.9. Okay? What business do they have? I'm telling us about an earthquake that is a 3.5 when they intend to upgrade it to 4.9. Now, I've done my homework on this. Okay? This was actually a 5.1 large earthquake here near Bartabunga Volcano. Bartabunga Volcano. This white glacier area just to the south of where this earthquake hit is Bartabunga Volcano. Bartabunga Volcano is topped with an icy glacier right now. The last time this erupted, about 8 years ago, actually it's a little more than that. The last time it erupted, it shut down air traffic all over Europe. The eruption of that volcano shut down air traffic all over Europe because jet plane engines don't like ash. Jet plane engines don't like ash. And that's what this did. It sent up ash up to like 5,000 to 8,000 feet high. I think 8,000 feet high was the first eruption, then it continued, and then it went down to 5,000 feet above sea level. Like I said, jet engines don't like it. So it shut down air travel literally all over Europe. Now this is the second earthquake we've had hit in this area. The other day we had a 3.8 and a 4.3. Okay? So this is not the first earthquake that's hit this area. Now we've had, I believe, in my heart of hearts, this was a much larger 5.1 large earthquake. Okay? I'm telling you right now, it's unreal. And today we've had even more earthquakes. Let's take a quick look on the USGS map at some of these earthquakes. And like I have told you before, USGS does not usually show us all the earthquakes. Never. Never happened, never will. Okay? Let me take down my banner, and let's take down my smiley face here. I want to show you these earthquakes. Okay? Up to the north here in Iceland, we have that 5.1. Down south here in the southern part of Chile, off the coast of Chile, this was a large 5.4 earthquake. A large 5.4 earthquake just off the coast of Aysén, Chile, A-I-S-E-N, Chile, southern Chile. We don't often see earthquakes this far south in Chile. Yes, occasionally it does happen, but this is the largest earthquake down here. Okay? Now, let's go over to Tonga and Fiji region. This is just south of the Fiji Islands, they say, but folks, let me enlarge this map for you, and let's bring it up here. Okay? This is actually south of the Tonga Islands. This is a 5.3 large earthquake here. 5.3 large earthquake is also only 10 kilometers deep, 6.2 miles deep. Okay? 5.3 earthquake. Just north of it is another 5.0 near Pangai, Tonga. GAI Tonga, Pangai Tonga. A large 5.0 earthquake, and this one is moderately deep. Okay, this one is only 239 kilometers deep, moderately deep. Okay, deep earthquakes I classify over 500 kilometers deep. This is a moderately deep earthquake. This is only 239 kilometers deep. Okay, out west of there, this is actually south of Fiji here. This is a 4.6 earthquake, a 4.6 moderate earthquake here. However, let's look at the depth of this quake. This is a very deep earthquake. Okay, this is 550, actually 560 kilometers deep. 560 kilometers deep. As a deep earthquake, this 4.6 is going to propagate or birth a larger, shallow earthquake. Deep earthquakes birth or propagate larger, shallow earthquakes. That's what this one is going to do. This 4.6 earthquake is going to propagate a 5.3 to 5.4 large earthquake sometime within the next 3 to 10 days. Sometime within the next 3 to 10 days. Let's go further over here to the west. Okay, this is the Solomon Islands. Okay, these are large earthquakes I'm talking about. This is a 5.3 earthquake here in the Solomon Islands. However, this is fairly shallow, only 45 kilometers deep. We go further into Papua New Guinea. This is a 4.6, also moderately deep and 212 kilometers deep. The one just south of there is also another 4.6 earthquake. This is 61 kilometers deep. Okay? Two different depths here. This one being moderately deep, 212. This one just south of there is in a different location. 61 kilometers deep. 61 kilometers deep. Okay? This 61 kilometers deep is right next to the land here in Papua New Guinea. It's on that fault zone. Look at where that earthquake is at. It's on the fault zone. This one to the north of there, a 4.6 also. Guess what? This is 212 kilometers deep. Okay? This is like 4 to 5 times the depth of the other, or actually 8 times the depth of that first earthquake. Okay? Two different depths. Those two earthquakes are not related. These two 4.6 earthquakes are not related, even though they are in the same area. Okay? I want to show you that. Then I want to take you over to eastern Indonesia here. We have had earthquakes here before. Okay? This week. This is another 4.6 earthquake. Ambon, Indonesia. Ambon, Indonesia. AMBON, Indonesia. Another 4.6, and this is also moderately deep. 379 kilometers deep. Okay? So we have 3 4.6 earthquakes here. Unreal. Then we go over here to southern Sumatra. Southern Sumatra. This is off the coast of southern Sumatra. This is a 4.7 earthquake, 10 kilometers deep, 6.2 miles deep. Okay? We've had earthquakes this size before. We've had earthquakes larger than this before. Not a big deal, because over here, these earthquakes happen over in the ocean. Over in the ocean. When earthquakes happen in the ocean, what happens? The seismic energy is absorbed by the seawater. The seismic energy is absorbed by the seawater. Okay? That's what's happening here. For kicks and giggles, let's go over here to Hernani, Philippines. Hernani, Philippines. This is the southern Philippines. Okay? This is right next to a fault zone here. The Philippine fault zone. Okay? It's a deep fault zone. This earthquake is another 4.6 earthquake. Isn't that interesting? All these 4.6 moderate quakes. Also right next to a fault zone. This is 26 kilometers deep. Fascinating, huh? Fascinating. One more earthquake we want to report on. This is just north of Honshu and just south of Hokkaido, Japan. Another 4.6 earthquake. Isn't it interesting? I have never in my life in high school, college, or ever since till now, I've never seen this many 4.6 earthquakes ever. Never. But this is allegedly a 4.6 earthquake here. Guess what? 41 kilometers deep. Shallow earthquake. One more earthquake, and then we're going to go over to the Cascadia area. Okay? I want to concentrate on the Cascadia area tonight because I fear we're going to have a much larger earthquake. This is a large earthquake here in Myanmar. It used to be called Burma. Myanmar here is a 5.2 large earthquake. Look at where it's at. It's right on top of the fault zone, the edge of the craton here. A 5.2 large earthquake. Shallow earthquake, meaning a lot of damage. Shallow earthquakes create a lot more damage than deep earthquakes. Shallow earthquake here, a 5.2, is going to has already caused some damage here in Burma today. Okay? This hit at 10:33 a.m. this morning. Okay? Eastern time. So Burma's seen some damage. Again, over here in Europe, USGS is not showing any earthquakes here in Europe. None. They're not even showing anything over here near Santorini where we've had multiple quakes. Today I believe we've had 42 quakes here in the Aegean Sea here. Okay? They're still not showing any here in Italy. Let me tell you this. There are over 60 earthquakes here in Italy. A handful in southern Italy, and most of the earthquakes in central Italy, including a handful of earthquakes near the volcano. Cape Fligre volcano. Okay? I'm telling you. We're going to have something happen in Italy very soon. Very, very soon. Now let me back this out. I want to go over here to Cascadia. Okay? Why are we talking about Cascadia? It's very important. It's very, very important. Okay? We believe after we've done a lot of study, tons of study, hours, days, weeks, and even months of study. I studied this in high school, I studied it in college, got a degree, and yet we're still seeing earthquakes here. We are expecting a very large earthquake hitting here. A major earthquake hitting here off the coast of Seattle, Washington. Okay? What you're seeing right here next to the coast is called the Cascadia subduction zone. The Cascadia subduction zone. Further out here to the west, we have the zigzag fault we call the Juan de Fuca fault. Juan J-U-A-N-D-E Day Fuca F-U-C-A. The Juan de Fuca fault. Somewhere between both of these faults is where we're going to see a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake, and it's going to probably happen within the next 5 years. And given the information we now have, this earthquake forecast that I made, I'm not going to call it a prediction, I'm calling it a forecast. I believe it could happen sooner than 5 years from now. I'm going to give you plenty of information about that. That's why we're on the air right now. Honestly, that's exactly why we're on the air right now. Let's go over, and I want to show you this, okay? This is an aftershock of a 5.1 earthquake we had here yesterday. We had a 5.1 earthquake here yesterday, okay? This is near Esquimalt, Canada. Esquimalt, Vancouver, Canada. This is a 2.3 minor aftershock. A 2.3 minor aftershock in the same area where we had a large earthquake yesterday. And they've taken that earthquake off the map, and I saved it. I've got a screenshot of it I'm going to show you in just a minute. Okay? We have earthquakes here. And we're going to continue to see earthquakes here. Now, I want to show you this. There are many reasons I want to show you this. This is just over east, south and east of the Puget Sound. South and east of the Puget Sound. This is a 3.4 small earthquake near Lea Hill, L-E-A Hill, H-I-L-L, Washington. 6 kilometers, basically 3 miles south-southeast of Lea, Washington. Okay? This is also a very shallow quake, 25 kilometers deep. This was a small earthquake. Yes, people felt this earthquake. But again, it's over in the Puget Sound area. Notice they don't have any earthquakes at all today listed here at Mount Rainier. That's because they're lying about it. I've proven that in times in the past. If they're not showing anything, they're lying about it because there are earthquakes. There are tremors and microquakes all over Mount Rainier, and they're not showing one of them. They're not showing one of them. That is a lie. Omission is a lie. If I omitted data on one of my police reports years ago, they would have fired my butt. They would have fired my butt. Omission is a lie. Okay? Over here near Mount St. Helens, just west of Mount St. Helens, guess what? They're talking about a 1.1 minor tremor near Mossy Rock, Washington. 1.1 tremor near Mossy Rock, Washington. But why are they not talking about Mount St. Helens? There are earthquakes, there are tremors, there are minor earthquakes, there are microquakes here at Mount St. Helens, just like Mount Rainier. But they're not showing them. Again, all my born days, I will never understand why this agency is not showing what exactly is going on. Okay? Not showing it. Why not? They know for a fact. They know for a fact what's going on here. They are expecting Mount St. Helens to move in a big way. Just like they're expecting Mount Rainier to move in a big way. But they don't want to tell anybody about it. That is wrong. When people's lives or hang in the balance, I believe that is a wrong attitude to have. And USGS at some point we're going to be held responsible. Now I'm going to try to get hold of Elon Musk, at the very least, leave him a message about what I feel is going to happen in Cascadia. And I may forward him a link to this video, because I feel it's very important that everybody have this information. And this video could also make it to Elon Musk and the president. And then they may pull things up and the president send Elon Musk over to USBS. I hope. Now, I'm going back over this area right now. Okay? We had a large earthquake here yesterday. That's important to understand. It's very important to understand. My buddy Brokefish N is here. He put up 2 eyes in the chat. To me, that says, pay attention. I hope that's exactly what he means. Pay attention. This is important. This is important. Sheila, please stay on topic with me. At the end of this presentation about Cascadia, I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about the San Andreas Fault in California. So hang in here with me. Hang in here with me. Because yes, the San Andreas Fault in California is going to blow. It is going to blow. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Now, Arnold Smith is talking about Esquimalt, British Columbia, says that's a Canadian submarine base. Exactly. Exactly. Now, folks, this is serious. This is serious. Let me take the USGS map down. Give me a second here. Okay. This earthquake here near Vancouver. Okay. This shows it to be a 5.0. I believe it was a 5.1 earthquake. A large 5.1 earthquake. Okay. Notice the other earthquake south of here. Okay. Notice the other earthquake south of here. Other earthquakes here also that they're not showing. Aftershocks from this quake. Aftershocks from this quake. Guys, those aftershocks, there was actually one foreshock just north of here. There was a 4.3 foreshock. And then 3 other aftershocks from this 5.0. Okay? Large aftershock. And I'm serious about this. I'm hoping everybody will pay attention here. Brokefish N is in the chat saying, yep, I see movement on shore at south end of southern Oregon. Yeah, there is. There is. There's also seismic energy over off of the coast of Petrolia, California, and it's in the Triple Junction. USGS has also taken that down. There was a 2.6 minor earthquake at the Triple Junction. At the Triple Junction. The Triple Junction, folks, is where the Cascadia subduction zone meets with the San Andreas and the Gorda Escarpment. Okay? All 3 earthquake faults meet down there in the southern Cascadia subduction zone. Okay? I don't tell you that or put it up lightly. Okay? I don't tell you that or put it up lightly because it all comes together. Up and down the entire Cascadia subduction zone, it comes together. Okay? And I'm very serious about this. Why? Because I don't want to see anybody killed. And yes, I know it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. This 5.0, 5.1 earthquake happened yesterday afternoon, approximately 13:26 p.m. Eastern Time. Actually, local time, Pacific Time. 1:26 p.m. Pacific Time. Okay? It struck at a shallow depth within the coastal areas northwest of Vancouver. The rugged coastal ranges northwest of Vancouver, Canada. The populated coast of the Strait of Georgia. And light shaking was reported near the epicenter between Vancouver and Squamish. So far, over 7,000 people felt that earthquake. 7,000 people reported that earthquake to the EMSC, the European agency. Now, because USGS lies, I didn't bother checking the felt reports from the USGS. I didn't feel it was necessary. We all know what they do and what they don't do. In the area right around Vancouver, there's been instrumental records of shallow coastal earthquakes. Instrumental records of shallow coastal earthquakes. We have that information. Okay? All kinds of shallow earthquakes in that area. We've talked about this before. Okay? What kind of earthquake was this? And can we link it to local fault structures? Can we link this earthquake to local fault structures? I believe we can. I believe we can, and that's why we're talking about it. Okay? Let's look at this moment tensor ball here. Okay? I want to show you this. Let's move this over where it's off the picture here so you can better see it here. Okay? Let's talk about this. The moment tensor ball here indicates a strike-slip fault. A strike-slip fault. Now this is rare for this type of event in this area. But this allows us to speculate a bit about the active tectonic structures. The active tectonic structures. Here we have the North American plate coming into play. We have the Juan de Fuca fault coming into play. And we have the Cascadia megathrust earthquake fault coming into play here. And as usual, we note the fault mechanisms are ambiguous. They provide us two modal planes here. One which should match the orientation. East coast of Honshu had a 4.0 earthquake 6 minutes ago. Okay. This moment tensor ball gives us an orientation of the fault. In this case, look to the right. This one plane strikes close to north-south. Close to north-south. To the left, you see it dipping steeply to the east. The right side of the moment tensor ball dips steeply to the east. The other is close to east-west, dipping steeply to the north. Now, there is an interesting alignment of recent seismicity along a northerly trend near yesterday's epicenter, which has been illuminated by small earthquakes over the last decade. We've tracked numerous small earthquakes and minor tremors over this area in the past decade, 10 years. Now this could represent a cluster of unrelated events. This could indicate or represent clusters of unrelated events, earthquakes, or an alignment that could indicate the presence of north-south striking slide-slip strike. Let's look at that, the strike-slip strike, right here. Over on the far right side of this slide here, let me enlarge it here so you can better see it here. Over on the right side is a strike-slip fault. That's what happened yesterday. This was a strike-slip fault zone. Okay? The strike-slip fault. The alignment looks a little west of north. The alignment of this earthquake looks a little west of north. Well, the focal mechanism I showed you in that moment tensor ball, okay, strikes a little east of north. Meanwhile, there is no alignment running east and west. There is no alignment running east and west. This was a strike slip running mostly north to south. In general, it does not seem possible to rely on previous earthquake epicenter records to interpret this event. This is different. The potential for larger, shallower earthquakes does exist in this area. Larger, shallower earthquakes do exist in this area. But there are still a lot of uncertainty, or is a lot of uncertainty, about the location and seismic potential on these faults. I'm going to repeat myself. There is still a lot of uncertainty about the location and the seismic potential on these faults. Now, the United States Geological Survey are basically leaving it open for us to believe that one much larger, shallow seismic event could happen. We've talked about this before. A much larger, shallower seismic event could happen. Or maybe several larger, shallower events could occur. Interesting, huh? This earthquake is a strike-slip fault. And we may see more faults or more earthquakes just like this. Okay? This earthquake occurred just south of the 49.5 degree latitude. Just south of the 49.5 degree latitude. Now there are a band of deep earthquakes. There are a band of deep earthquakes. Let me bring up that slide as well. There are a band of earthquakes in this area, as you can see. A lot of them. A lot of them. These earthquakes are related to deformation that's happening. Land movement and land changes of the subducting Juan de Fuca plate. Okay? These earthquakes indicate that those are related to the deformation, the land changing in the subducting Juan de Fuca plate. Okay? Look at the area here. Look at all the seismicity earthquakes happening over this large area. Just inland of this deep band of seismicity, there is a shallow crustal faulting. Shallow crustal faulting. Okay? Movement in the plates. Movement in the faults. This is actually quite common in Washington State. Farther northwest of Vancouver lie 3 large earthquakes occurred in the shallow crust of Vancouver Island between 1906 and 1946. 1906 and 1946, including the huge 1946 Vancouver Island earthquake, the huge 1946 Vancouver earthquake. Now, let me show you the damage. Let me show you the damage that the 1909 earthquake had. Folks, this was a major earthquake, 1906. And another earthquake just like it in 1946. Okay? It was called the Vancouver Island earthquake. The faults that hosted these earthquakes are still very poorly understood. They're very poorly understood. Scientists are still trying to figure out what's going to happen with the Cascadia. Yes, there has been some study with the 1909 and 1946 earthquakes. Yes, they have been looking at the fault zones. But up until about 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago even, the concentration now has been on the Cascadia. Is there a relationship between what happened here in 1909 and 1946? Absolutely. Absolutely is. Okay? Close to Vancouver itself. This earthquake was a 6.0 earthquake. And usually we call 6.0 earthquakes very strong earthquakes, and they are. Now, as you can see, USGS called this damage minor. They called this damage that you see right here minor. Now, there's something interesting to know here. When this earthquake happened, there have been numerous boat captains to think that their boats struck a submerged log or a rock. There were numerous boat captains here that thought their barge or their boat hit strong submerged logs or rock in the water. That's how strong this earthquake was. Okay? Identifying active faults in this region is extremely difficult for different reasons. Strong shallow earthquakes here are not only driven by plate tectonic motions here, guys, but the landscape bounces all over due to geologically recent glaciation. Glaciers. Ice moving, trimming down the hills, the mountains in this area, and leaving bare rock in their advance. Okay? Geologic recent glaciation and subsequent post-glacial uplift of the crust. Post-glacial uplift of the crust. Why? The reason is this. The Cascadia subduction zone and the Juan de Fuca plate are doing this underneath the North American plate. Subduction. When these faults go underneath the North American plate, what happens? It raises up the North American plate. That is why we have mountains, and that's why we have volcanoes. It causes the earth to rise up. As the plate subducts, it pushes on the North American plate, and in doing so, the hilly region of the undersea areas of the fault push up on the upper crust, and it causes the earth to rise. That's why. Much of this region, as you can see in pictures all over the internet, and pictures we've actually shown you here in the past. This region is densely forested, and it's very exceedingly rugged. Only with the recent development of aerial mapping technologies, satellite underground penetrating radar, we have some on-land faults. We have some active on-land faults that have begun to tell their stories. The crust in this area, the land that we walk on, is built up of many ancient slivers of accretionated material. Let me show you what that means. Where's my... Maybe I haven't loaded it here. Hold on, let me bring up the picture here. I thought I had all my slides loaded up here. Give me just a second. It'll only take me a second. Oh, you stupid thing. Okay, why is this important? Accretionated layering. Basically, what we're talking about is this green area here. The Solomon Island just got hit by a 5.6 very large earthquake 5 minutes ago. A 5.6 earthquake in the Solomon Islands 5 minutes ago. Richard Smith has this as a 5.5 in the chat. Okay? Roadfish M says he has to go. Have a good night, guy. We appreciate you a lot. We really do. God bless you. This area in the green here to the left is what they call the accretiated fault area. Okay? Why do they call it accretiated? Accretiated only means that during the buildup of the crust here, okay, slivers of accretiated material developed. The slivers are bounded by one or more mappable faults, which are slivers in the place that took place a long time ago. These slivers are accretiated, meaning they're added on top of the other crust. The material that's added on the tectonic plate at the subduction zone. Again, the entire west coast of North America is a subduction zone. The entire west coast of North America is a subduction zone. Alaska, Canada, and mainland North America. Huge subduction zone, guys. The Pacific Plate, the Juan de Fuca, and the Cascadia subduction zone are subducting underneath the North American continent. Okay? North American plate. The accretion is a process by which material is added to a tectonic plate at the subduction zone. Frequently, it's on the edge of the existing continental masses, on top of the existing continental land masses. This added material may be sediment, it might be volcanic material, it could be seamounts, meaning underwater volcanoes, oceanic crust, or other igneous volcanic features. Now, the faults in this area that we're talking about tonight are very old, and scientists are saying they are generally inactive. With that said, there are really no inactive faults. Why do I say that? Every time the government has said that these or any other faults are inactive, that's when we start having earthquakes at those fault zones. We start having earthquakes on those fault zones, which means them telling us that they are inactive, them telling us that the volcano is inactive, and all of a sudden it starts rumbling. We know from our history here in the last few years that molten magma is traveling underground from way down in the deep South Pacific. It's coming up through the magma plume down there, coming from molten lava, molten magma down near the core of the earth. It's coming up through the crust, and it's being distributed to all the volcanoes. Just like that is happening. Volcanoes are being activated again, and the same thing happens with these earthquake faults. I don't believe there's anything called an inactive fault. Okay? There are really no inactive faults. Now, even an old fault can slip, given the right conditions. Even an old fault can slip, given the right conditions, without clear evidence for recent slip at the surface. An active fault might be indistinguishable from a long dead fault. An active fault might be indistinguishable from a long dead fault. Then all of a sudden it moves. The slip rates of the active crustal faults in this area are generally quite low, because most of the real tectonic deformation is taken up by the Cascadia subduction zone. Most of the real tectonic deformation, meaning land movement, is taken up by the Cascadia subduction zone. And the Queen Charlotte Fault to far to the northwest. Okay, I'm going to be talking about the Queen Charlotte Fault, or what they call the fair weather Queen Charlotte Fault zone right now. Let me bring up that slide here. Right here. That island, that big long island here, it looks like a cigar, is Queen Charlotte Island. Okay? That fault zone running north of Queen Charlotte Island is called the Fairweather Charlotte Fault Zone. The Fairweather Charlotte Fault Zone. It reaches from Queen Charlotte Island up to Yakutak, Alaska. Yakutak, Alaska to the southeast of Alaska. Now, we can go back over and I can show you where Yakutak, Alaska is on the USGS map. But I'm going to tell you right now, where this fault meets with the coastline of Alaska is where Yakutak, Alaska is. Southeast Alaska there. Okay? So this huge fault line runs from Queen Charlotte to Yakutak, Alaska. And we've had earthquakes there. A lot of earthquakes. Most of those earthquakes are tremors and minor earthquakes, 2.0, 2.9. However, with that said, you've also had some small 3.0 to 3.9 earthquakes there as well. And yes, we've even had a 4.5 earthquake there near Yakutak, Alaska. Okay? Now, an important tectonic boundary here is the Fairweather Queen Charlotte Fault System. It runs along the western coast of the park, the western coast of the British Columbia Park here. At the north end of the fault zone, the Fairweather Fault marks the boundary between North American Plate and the Yakutak Block. Between the North American Plate and the Yakutak Block. Okay? A small microplate and the hinge of Alaska. Right up there near the edge of the plate where the Fairweather Charlotte Fault or Charlotte Plate goes up here. Okay, that fault zone is a Yakutak plate, a very small tectonic plate. Okay? What they call a microplate. That Fairweather Fault is similar to the San Andreas Fault in California. The Fairweather Fault is similar to the San Andreas Fault in California. Now, for those of you that haven't seen the San Andreas Fault in California, there may be new people here. And to you guys, I ask, please subscribe to our channel. Like and subscribe to this program. Okay? I'm giving you a lot of information here. I'm giving you a ton of information here. Now, right here. This is Parkfield, California. Parkfield, California lies smack dab straight on the San Andreas Fault. And the San Andreas Fault comes from the southern part of the Cascadia subduction zone and runs all the way through California. Here in Parkfield, California, we had more earthquakes than anywhere else in the world. They call this earthquake capital of California, earthquake capital of the world. Parkfield, California. Again, it sits smack dab on the San Andreas Fault. Now, this is also something important here. Let me show you another slide. Okay? Notice this bridge here. Notice how this bridge turns. Again, see that sign there? It says you're entering the North American Plate. You're entering the North American Plate, which means on this bridge and the ground underneath it, all the way to the ocean, is what? The Pacific Plate here. The Pacific Plate. You're sitting on the Pacific Plate here. Notice the curve of this bridge. As the San Andreas Fault moves, the curve begins very slowly, and then it starts curving more drastically. There are other buildings here in Parkfield, California, where actually they've had to add on to the buildings because the fault moves and leaves the buildings wide open. The ground has moved so much in this area where it's left the ground completely open and the buildings wide open. And they've had to actually add on to the buildings to reconnect them. Okay? The curve of this bridge proves it. The San Andreas Fault moves, and on one side of it, on the west side of it, you're on the Pacific Plate. On the other side of this bridge, you're entering the North American Craton, the North American Plate. Okay? Again, the Fairweather Fault to the north that goes from Queen Charlotte Island to Yakutak, Alaska, is very similar to the San Andreas Fault. Okay? In that it has the same motion. It has the same motion. We talked about the strike-slip motion. That's what's happening here as well. Okay? The San Andreas Fault is a strike-slip fault. Okay? It's standing on one side of the fault, looking on the other side. The land on the other side is moving to the right. This kind of horizontal motion to the right defines the boundary as transform fault as light lateral strike slip. Right lateral strike slip. Now, although the plates are sliding past each other just like this, the plates are sliding past each other just like this. Let me take down the slide so I can show you this. The plates, both the North American Plate and the Charlotte Fairweather Plate, are moving just like this on or against the North American Fault, North American Plate. Down along the San Andreas Fault, where the North American Plate is on the east side and the Pacific Plate on the west. The plate movement is like this. The strike-slip fault zone just like that. Okay? It's moving. Now it seemingly has a slow pace. It moves about 50 millimeters a year. Both the Charlotte Fairweather Plate and the San Andreas Fault move about 50 millimeters a year, 2 inches a year. That's a lot of movement. That's a lot of movement. That is why those buildings disconnected themselves over a period of years because of the movement. 2 inches of movement a year is a lot. Okay? The impact of this movement in a single event can be tremendous. Yes, we have had single events happen that create a lot of damage. They create a ton of damage. During the last century, this fault system has generated 6 massive magnitude 7 or greater earthquakes. 6 massive magnitude 7 major earthquakes or greater. In 1958, this fault ruptured in a magnitude 7.8 earthquake. A 7.8 earthquake, guys. Right here. A massive 7.8 earthquake right here. That's huge. Let me tell you how huge it was. 7.8 major earthquake. It triggered a massive landslide. This earthquake triggered a massive landslide, which in turn generated a devastating giant wave in Lituya Bay. It generated a massive landslide in Lituya Bay, a giant wave. This earthquake triggered a 1,700-foot high tsunami, a 1,700 high foot tsunami in Lituya Bay. This magnitude 7.8 earthquake caused as much as 21 feet of horizontal movement. 21 feet of horizontal movement like this. That's huge. And up to 3 feet of vertical movement. Vertical movement. And was felt as far south as Seattle, Washington. See where this earthquake is? See where this earthquake is? This earthquake was over to the southeast of Alaska. Yet, was felt all the way down to Seattle, Washington. The Fairweather Fault is visible on land for about 170 miles from Cross Sound to its junction with St. Elias Fault near Yakutat Bay to the north. 170 miles of fault. The trace of the Fairweather Fault is marked by a topographic trench. That along some segments of this trench of the fault are over a half-mile wide. Can you imagine a fault being a half-mile wide? In the past episodes of the Emergency Management Associates program, I've showed you pictures of the San Andreas Fault. Some pictures were maybe 500 feet wide, 1,000 feet wide. But can you imagine a fault being a half-mile wide? 2,500 feet wide. 2,500 feet wide. Okay? That's how wide this fault is. On a side note, just on a side note here, Alaska is by far the most seismically active state in the U.S. Every year, there are about 35,000 earthquakes recorded in Alaska alone. 35,000 earthquakes recorded in Alaska alone every year. Every day that we've been on the program where we showed you Alaska, Alaska tends to have 60 plus earthquakes there every day. 60 plus earthquakes in Alaska every day. Yes, some of those are tremors 1.0 to 1.9. Some of those are 2.0 to 2.9 minor earthquakes. Others are small 3.0 to 3.9. And yes, we do have 4.5 to 4.0 to 4.9 moderate earthquakes. We also had 5.0 to 6.0 and 6.0 to 7.0. And yes, 5.5 years ago, we had a 7.0 earthquake in Anchorage, Alaska. A 7.0 earthquake in Anchorage, Alaska. Okay? Now, 3 of the 10 largest earthquakes ever recorded in the world, and 10 of the 15 largest ever recorded in the U.S. occurred in Alaska. Let me see if I have this slide ready to come up or not here. In 1964, we had a major earthquake in Alaska. Let me pull this up here. I thought I had all these slides ready to go here. Let me pull this up so you can see it. This is the damage caused by that 1964 earthquake. Major damage. Now, when that 7.0 earthquake hit in Anchorage, we showed you similar pictures of damage around Anchorage, Alaska. It happens. It happens too frequently. Okay? I keep telling everybody, with all the seismic energy coming out of Indonesia, going through the Philippines, going up past Japan, north towards Kamchatka Peninsula, and then west across the Aleutian Island Trench and over into Alaska. I believe we have seismic energy over in Alaska right now. Hold up. Locked and loaded for another major earthquake in Alaska. This earthquake here in Alaska in 1964 was huge. It was the biggest magnitude 9.0 earthquake then. It was the largest, biggest 9.2 major earthquake ever. March 27th, 1964. Prince William Sound area of Alaska. Huge. 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 And yet we're going to experience another one probably within the next 5 years over the Cascadia subduction zone near Seattle, Washington, around the Juan de Fuca Fault. It's going to happen. I guarantee you it's going to happen. Okay? Yes, we're going to have another major earthquake in Alaska, and I'm surprised it hasn't already hit. Since we've been on the air the last almost 6 years now, April 3rd of those 6 years, just over a month away, we've had a 7.0 in Alaska, 7.0 in Alaska, and we've had numerous 9.0, 10.0 earthquakes around the world. We had one over in the Turkey-Syria border region. We had another 9.0 over under the ice in Antarctica. It left a 12-mile fissure opened up in the ice. That 9.0 happened in Antarctica. It left a 12-mile long fissure open in the ice. We reported on it. EMA reported on it. USGS said, oh, it didn't happen. The United States Geological Survey said it didn't happen. Weeks later, when a plane operated by the United States Air Force flew over that area, and they photographed the great big huge fissure, 12 miles long and untold depth of that fissure. All of a sudden, USGS had to eat crow. They had to eat crow. In the almost 6+ years we've been here, we reported on a volcano on the Kamchatka Peninsula, the Shiveluch volcano over in Kamchatka Peninsula. It erupted also, 85,000-foot eruption, an 85,000-foot eruption up into the stratosphere. USGS denied it. The United States Geological Survey denied it. And guess what? Right before that volcano gave up its light into the upper atmosphere, in that same area right next to Shiveluch volcano, there was a 7.0 earthquake. A 7.0 earthquake that USGS denied it had. Okay? USGS, you might have heard that. USGS just reported a 4.9, 5.0 earthquake in the Solomon Islands just a few minutes ago. They called it 4.9, but we know the 0.9 society is alive and well. That was another large 5.0 earthquake in the Solomon Islands. Unreal. I guess Cassandra Ross is going to go to sleep. Have a good night. Thanks for being here, Cassandra. We appreciate you. We really appreciate you. Kathy Berriman, thank you for being here as well. We appreciate it. Those of you that are here, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel and give us a thumbs up as well. That helps with the analytical factor with YouTube. And YouTube would let also other people see this program. YouTube does not often do that. They don't believe we have anything to offer. Yet we've had, just a few weeks ago, we had 17,500 people watch one of our programs. And yet YouTube continues to downplay that. YouTube continues to downplay it. 17,000 people watch one of our programs. Okay? Now, these earthquakes are not rare. These earthquakes happen all the time. These earthquakes happen all the time. This is a seismograph station up near the Fairweather Queen Charlotte Fault Zone, near Yakutak, Alaska. The solar panels here provide electricity to operate the seismograph. I want to show you this because a lot of times people don't understand where the seismographs are. They're there. Some of the sensors are buried deep underground. So the ground moving above the ground, meaning trains or boats or planes, don't rattle the seismograph. Okay? But you can see the housing to this seismograph is above ground, and it also supports the solar panels that provide power to the seismograph. Okay? Now, the Alaska Earthquake Information Center. The Alaska Earthquake Information Center, the AEIC. Their mission is to monitor earthquake activity throughout Alaska. Okay? Monitoring earthquake activity throughout Alaska. Okay? They monitor it in real time via satellites and other devices just like you see here. They provide the public and the government agencies with timely locations and magnitude information of these quakes in the event of a significant seismic fault, seismic event. Okay? Now, with that said, let's go down here to the Strait of Juan de Fuca, where we had that earthquake here yesterday. This area of water running in from the Pacific Ocean is called the Strait of Juan de Fuca. Right down the middle of the Strait of Juan de Fuca, we have the geographical boundary between Canada and Alaska. I mean, not Alaska, Canada and the United States. Well, that was a slip. Okay? It's a geographic boundary between Canada and the United States. That earthquake yesterday was over in Canada, Vancouver Island. Okay? There is geological and seismic evidence for a prominent system faults that cuts across southern Vancouver Island and the Strait of Juan de Fuca. There are quite a number of faults in this area. There are quite a number of faults in this area. And they continue to be there. And they continue to move. Does anybody have any questions about anything we said so far? Yesterday's large 5.0 earthquake here is a reminder that active faults do exist in the shallow crust around Vancouver and Seattle, Washington. These earthquake faults are not always monitored, or haven't been always monitored. USGS and the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network have said some of those faults are inactive, old faults, and they don't even monitor them. They've admitted that. Then all of a sudden, when there's an earthquake, all of a sudden those agencies are left scrambling, trying to figure out why those earthquakes happen, or what they're going to involve in the future. It's going to take continuing study, not just by those agencies, but I'm also continuing to look at this. Why? Because it affects lives. It affects lives. Families live here. Families live here. And yet the agencies refuse to report on information here. Or if they report on it, they downplay it. To really understand the faulty active system in this area, We have to continue to study it. And that leads me to my next question here. How much longer do we have until the big earthquake hits? How much longer do we have until this big Cascadia megathrust earthquake hits? Days? Weeks? Months? 2 years? I believe it's not going to be any more than 5 years. I don't believe it's going to be any more than 5 years. Joe Shinpla says no telling what's under all that ice. And guess what? Iceland has a lot of ice. But even the ice melts during the summertime. Not all of it. Some of the glacial ice remains. But it's not always under ice. Okay? How many more small quakes are we going to see until we have a major Cascadia earthquake? How many more small quakes are we going to see until the Cascadia megathrust earthquake happens? Inquiring minds want to know, don't they? We are going to continue to report on this. We're going to continue to report on this because the agency doesn't seem to give a flying rat's butt. They don't seem to give a rat's flying keister. We are going to continue to monitor this and keep you informed of what's going on. Okay? Now, I just brought up the USGS map. Okay? We show the Strait of Juan de Fuca where we had another aftershock here today. Let's back out here. This time I want to go down here into California, Southern California. Before I get to Southern California, I'm coming down here, okay? Here you see the San Francisco Bay Area of Northern California, okay? Out here east of here on the Calaveras Fault, we have a 2.0 earthquake here near East Alum Rock. Again, this is on the Calaveras Fault. The fault just west of there is called the Hayward Fault. The Hayward Fault. Back in 1989 of October of 1989, right near San Francisco Bay up here, what did we have? A 6.9 magnitude earthquake on the Hayward Fault. Caused all kinds of damage. It caused the San Francisco Bay Bridge to drop. The San Francisco Bay Bridge dropped, thus dropping cars into San Francisco Bay, crushing cars on the bridge, killing a massive number of people. Okay, that happened here on the Hayward Fault. The Hayward and the Calaveras Fault are very dangerous. Then to the west of that, over here on the western side of San Francisco Bay, what do we have? The San Andreas Fault. The San Andreas Fault, right here. It goes by the western entrance to the San Francisco Bay here. The San Andreas Fault comes into existence up here in Northern California. Okay? Comes up into existence right here. Right here we have the triple junction. We have the triple junction, as you can see here. The southern part of the Cascadia subduction zone meets here with the San Andreas Fault and the Gorda Escarpment. That's what we're seeing here. Just before I came on the air, there had been a 2.5 minor earthquake that happened here at the triple junction. It's gone now. Why USGS took it down, heaven knows. USGS is supposed to leave these earthquakes up for at least 24 hours. They took it down. The Cascadia earthquake is going to happen. And when it happens, I want to tell you this. Back about 4.5 years ago, December 23rd, 2020. There was a meeting of geologists and seismological people in San Francisco. They discussed what would happen when the Cascadia megathrust earthquake hits. The seismic energy is going to resonate southward down the Cascadia subduction zone, down the fault line. It's going to trigger the San Andreas Fault. The 9.0, 10.0 magnitude energy of that earthquake is going to trigger the San Andreas Fault. A professor of geology from Oregon State University, he met and spoke at this conference. He said that energy would trigger the San Andreas Fault. And in triggering the San Andreas Fault, what's going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? The San Andreas Fault is going to carry some of that energy, a great majority of that energy, all the way down the fault. All the way down the fault. Here at this point, the San Andreas Fault enters land here. It enters land. It goes back out to sea right down here. It goes back out to sea just off the coast of San Francisco Bay. The San Andreas Fault then enters land here just west of San Francisco Bay and continues south all the way through the interior of California. All the way through the interior of California. Down here on the San Andreas Fault, just south and east of Monterey Bay here, right here, San Juan Bautista, California, 1.8 tremor here. Right next to it is a 1.8 tremor, Aromas, California. Let's go south. Let's go south here on the San Andreas Fault. Looky here. Right on top of the San Andreas Fault here, we have a swarm of earthquakes. Tres Pinos, California. Tres Pinos, California. Yesterday we had 3.3 earthquakes here. 3.3 earthquakes are small earthquakes. Okay? Today, right here, this is a 3.9. This is a 3.9, 4.0 moderate earthquake. Again, when I see anything 0.9, I consider it a magnitude up, because USGS downgrades everything unless they absolutely have to. Okay? This is a 4.0 earthquake here in Tres Pinos. Okay? Right next to it. This is a 3.0. This is an aftershock of the 3.9. This earthquake to the north of the 3.9 is actually a foreshock. This is a 3.1 foreshock. Then right after, just minutes afterwards, we had a 3.9. Earthquake over here on the east side, the San Andreas Fault. This is a 1.7 tremor here. 1.7 tremor here. We go over here back to the west of the San Andreas Fault near Tres Pinos. 2.7. 2.7. 3.3. The same size earthquake just started this yesterday. 3.3 earthquakes. Okay? This is a 2.3 here. South of there is another 3.0 small earthquake. 3.0, 3.9 are small earthquakes. Okay? Right here, another 2.9, 3.0 earthquake. Right here, 1.9, 2.0 earthquake. This is the 1.8 tremor here. This is 1.8 tremor here. 3 more earthquakes here. This one is a 1.5 tremor. This is a 2.7 minor earthquake here. A 4.5 moderate earthquake hit over in Papua New Guinea about 4 to 5 minutes ago. Here in Tres Pinos, we have another 2.7 earthquake. 2.7 minor earthquake here. These are swarms of earthquakes that happened on the San Andreas Fault. On the San Andreas Fault. And you can see where this is the San Andreas Fault. You can see it. This mountain range here is all part of the San Andreas Fault. Right here, you can see it here. We go south here, okay? To the west out here. This is the Oceania Fault. This is a 0.8 microquake here on the Oceania Fault. Okay? Let's continue south here on the San Andreas. There's a method to my madness here. Let's continue down here. Again, the USGS is not showing us all the earthquakes. There are other earthquakes here that they're not telling us about. Okay? Further south here. This is Maricopa County, not Maricopa County, this is Maricopa, California. This is a 1.2 tremor. 12 kilometers southeast of Maricopa, California. Further up here to the northeast, actually not to the northeast, but just east of this quake. This is a 1.4 earthquake in Grapevine, California. Good old Grapevine, California. Further out here to the south, also part of Grapevine, California, a 1.3 tremor. Last summer, we had a 5.0 over in Pasadena, California. As a result of those earthquakes in Pasadena, that earthquake in Pasadena lit up this area of Tehachapi and this area of the Grapevine. Lit it up like a ball of fire. We had earthquakes all over this area. Literally earthquakes all over this area. Then we come down here to the south. Okay, what do we have here? You see another fault line running to the northeast. This is the Garlock Fault. The Garlock Fault here. Just to the north of the Garlock Fault here. This is Tehachapi, California. One of the most dangerous areas of freeway in all of California. Interstate 15. One of the most dangerous areas of freeway here. Tehachapi. This is the 1.2 tremor here in Tehachapi. We go further to the north. This is Dupage, California. This is the volcanic area. This is a volcanic earthquake. Magma-induced earthquake here. A 2.6 earthquake here. We go further to the north. This is Little Lake, California. Little Lake, California. This is the eastern side, the northeastern side of the Mojave Desert. The northeastern side of the Mojave Desert. We come back here to the Garlock. Okay? Johannesburg, California. This is 1.4 tremor. We go up here to the northeast. Okay? Right here. Ridgecrest, California. Ridgecrest, California. Back on July 3rd, 2019, we had 2 6.9 earthquakes that hit here. 2 6.9 earthquakes that hit here. For all intents and purposes, they were at least a 7.0 earthquake. This area had thousands of earthquakes here. Thousands of tremors, thousands of minor earthquakes, thousands. of small, moderate, and large earthquakes throughout this area. Those 6.9s were called strong earthquakes, very strong earthquakes. 2 6.9s. Guess what USGS did? They downgraded one to a 6.7. And they took the other one off. They denied that the other 6.9 existed. Guess what? I took a screenshot. That activity did happen. That 6.9 earthquake did happen, regardless of what the USGS agency says. And that's what it is, BS. Today here is a 0.6 microquake over here in Ridgecrest, California. Further north, a 1.8 tremor. 14 kilometers east-northeast of Ridgecrest, California. About 7 miles east-northeast of Ridgecrest. Another earthquake north of here. Imperial Valley. This is a 1.6 tremor here. Okay? What do we have here? The Garlock Fault. Before the Ridgecrest earthquake happened, USGS didn't even realize that the Garlock Fault existed. But after some looking around, scientists started realizing, hey, there's a huge fault system here. The Garlock Fault got a name because of the Ridgecrest earthquake. Now, I told you on July 3rd we had 2 6.9 earthquakes. Guess what happened on July 4th? About 12 noon Western time. 12 noon Western time, 11 a.m. Pacific. At first it was thought that they had a 7.1 earthquake here, a major 7.1 earthquake. But now scientists are saying there was probably close to an 8.0. Close to an 8.0. Now because it was out here in the desert, yes, it buckled some highways. Earthquake buckled some highways. It knocked out some gas lines to some mobile homes. Fortunately, there was no fires. There was minor damage all over this area. Minor damage all over this area, but because it was not populated densely, nobody got hurt. Nobody got hurt. However, one person died. One person died because of that 7.1, 8.0 earthquake. Why did he die? At the time of the earthquake, it was underneath a car that was up on jacks just outside his garage. When the earthquake hit, the car rattled on its jacks and fell on top of the man, killing him. That was the only fatality of the Ridgecrest quake. That was the only fatality of the Ridgecrest quake. Now let's go back down here off the Garlock, back here to the San Andreas Fault. Right here. Vincent, California. This is a 1.8 tremor. Let's continue south here. Right here. This is Little Creek, California here. 1.2 tremor here. Right next to it, Rancho Cucamonga, California. We're talking about San Bernardino County. San Bernardino County, Rancho Cucamonga, California. We have a 1.1 tremor here. Let's continue down the San Andreas Fault. Right here. Cabazon. This is in the foothills of the San Bernardino Mountains. This is a 3.5 small earthquake. A 3.5 small earthquake here on the San Andreas. As you can see, we have a lot of earthquakes here on the San Andreas. And no, this is not the only earthquake here in Cabazon. It is the only earthquake the USGS is talking about. It is the only earthquake here that the USGS is talking about. Why? Because USGS decides what earthquakes they're going to talk about and what earthquakes they're not going to address. It's sad. It's sad. Because when that large 7.0, 8.0 earthquake happens here on the San Andreas Fault, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? USGS will either deny it happened or they'll downgrade it. They'll downgrade it even though there's deaths, fatalities, injuries, or damage. That's what the USGS does. They will not ever take responsibility for anything. The United States Geological Survey will not take responsibility for anything. That's what they do best. Okay? Now, further out here, just off the San Andreas Fault, Desert Hot Springs, California, we have a 1.0 tremor. Further south here, this is Thermal, California here, just east of the San Andreas. This is a 1.0, 1.6 tremor here. Very interesting. Now you do not see any earthquakes here on the San Andreas Fault. Any others here. Why? Because again, the agency does not want to admit we have earthquakes here. See where the San Andreas Fault hits here at the eastern side of the San Andreas Fault? East side of the Salton Sea here. This is Bombay Beach. This is Bombay Beach. This used to be like the Blue Lagoon Spa is in Iceland. They used to have a huge spa here. Back in the day, they had a huge spa here. Back in the 40s and 50s, Hollywood celebrities would travel from LA, Hollywood, all the way out here for weekends. A lot of people traveled all the way here, all over the country. At that point in time, the Salton Sea was uncontaminated. Now it's contaminated. People used to play here. They used to have boats out here in the Salton Sea and play. They used to swim here. Now it's polluted. If you went in this water, you would receive burns on your body because of the acids and such in the water. Nobody goes out here. There are dead fish on the side of the sea here. This is an inland sea. Dead fish and bones all over the shoreline here. Bombay Beach here has anywhere from 5 to 10, 3.0 to 4.0 earthquakes here every day. 5 to 10, 3.0 to 4.0 earthquakes here every day. But again, they deny they're happening. Occasionally they will say there's a tremor or a minor earthquake, but they'll deny to the hilt that there's a small or moderate earthquake here, because they don't want to paint a picture that there's a problem. They don't want to paint a picture that there's a problem. Here at Bombay Beach is where the San Andreas Fault enters underneath the Salton Sea here. Before that, it slides down the east side here. Bombay Beach is where it enters the Salton Sea. Underneath the Salton Sea, it comes out down here at Calipatria. There's anywhere now between 50 and 150 earthquakes here every day in Calipatria. You don't see any earthquakes here, do you? Because again, the USGS is not showing them. I can pull a seismogram from Caltech, USGS at Caltech. That seismogram would show you anywhere from 50 to 150 earthquakes here every day. Every day. Every day here. Okay? Up at Bombay Beach, I told you there are anywhere from 5 to 10, 3.0, 4.0 earthquakes a day. That does not include tremors. It doesn't include microquakes or minor earthquakes. Okay? Earthquakes there nonetheless. Okay? Now here's where the San Andreas Fault moves. Comes out from underneath the Salton Sea here, comes out to just underneath the land here at Calpatria. Then it makes a deep left-hand turn here. Deep left-hand turn, and it goes over here. Okay? This is Westmoreland, California. Westmoreland, California. If I pulled a seismogram right now here at Westmoreland, we'd see probably 50 to 60 earthquakes here. Westmoreland, California. From here, Westmoreland, the San Andreas Fault cuts through the Imperial Valley down here. What's here? Right here's a town called Imperial. The town of Imperial has a seismograph here. Every day I monitor the seismograph here. What does it show? Frankly, it shows anywhere from 50 to 75 earthquakes here every day. Tremors, minor earthquakes, and 3.0 plus earthquakes here in the town of Imperial every day. Not every other day, not every week, but every day. Lots of earthquakes, huh? Guess what? I'm not done. I'm not done. Let's continue south. Right here's a town called El Centro. El Centro. One of our own EMA family live here. Yes, to elite funds, the Salton Sea is contaminated. How to get contaminated? I'll tell you this. The fertilizer that's used to fertilize the desert out here, to grow lettuce, to grow tomatoes, to grow corn, and everything else they have out here, they use contaminants. Their fertilizer is full of acid and toxic chemicals. Those toxic chemicals reach out into the soil and reach over the Salton Sea. And the waters of the Salton Sea are contaminated now. Okay? Getting back to the earthquakes here. El Centro, California. We've been getting 10 to 20, 3.0, 3.5 earthquakes here every day. 10 to 20, 3.0 to 3.5 earthquakes here every day, as well as minor earthquakes and tremors. Probably close to 100 earthquakes here in El Centro. Just for kicks and giggles. What is west of El Centro? What is west of El Centro? The Navy has a base here. It's called El Centro Naval Air Station. El Centro Naval Air Station. You see a 5,000-foot runway here, and there is a cross runway of approximately 3,000 feet long. El Centro Naval Air Station. I've been there. I've taught a bunch of sailors, military police, how to conduct themselves at auto accidents, how to investigate auto accidents, and make sure that people are protected here at El Centro Naval Air Station. Okay, I've been there. I've also felt the ground move here at El Centro. That's not because of planes landing. It has nothing to do with planes landing. Earthquakes in this area. Now I'm going to take you further south. Further south through Imperial Valley. I'm going to take you now to a town called Holtville. Right here. This is a town called Holtville. This is over on the eastern side of San Andreas here. Holtville. There is a seismograph here in Holtville. The seismograph is at the Salton Sea Desert Research Station in Holtville. Here we see anywhere from 25 to 50 earthquakes here every day. 25 to 50 earthquakes here every day. Tremors, minor earthquakes, and regular 3.0 and larger quakes every day. Total throughout this Imperial Valley. There are over 500 earthquakes here in the Imperial Valley every day. 500 earthquakes every day. Well, guess what? Excuse me. I forgot to bring some water up to my studio today before I did this program. Over 500 earthquakes here in the Imperial Valley today. Okay? No dawn, they can't take any B-52 bombers over at El Centro Naval Air Station. Runway's too short. 5,000 feet is nothing. Unreal. Juanito is now Central California. Wave of Juanito, guys. Yeah, Don Pateau is calling the Imperial Valley Nitrate City. Pretty much. Pretty much. Anyway, there are over 500 earthquakes every day. Right here. The USGS today is only saying there are 227 earthquakes worldwide. That's interesting. That's almost stupid. Almost stupid here. Over 500 earthquakes here in the Imperial Valley by itself. Let's go up here to Los Angeles. Let's go up here to the greater Los Angeles area. They're showing some earthquakes out here. Okay? Rancho Cucamonga, Orange County. Guess what? I will tell you this right now. There are over 500 earthquakes here in the Los Angeles area. Over 500 earthquakes here throughout the greater Los Angeles area. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Now, for craps and giggles here. For craps and giggles. Let's go over here to Long Beach. I've always liked to do this. Good old Long Beach, California. I love it here. No, I don't. Okay? I'll never live there. Probably never go there again. Good old Long Beach. There is a seismograph over in Long Beach. Guess what? That seismograph in Long Beach are recording tremors and minor earthquakes all day long. Minute by minute. All day long. 1 hour to the next. All day long. How is that possible? 60 earthquakes a minute times 60 minutes is an hour, isn't it? Interesting, huh? That's 120 earthquakes every minute. 120 earthquakes every minute. Can you imagine what is actually happening there? Just east of there, just east of Long Beach, is a town called Anaheim. Good old Anaheim. Guys, what do we have in Anaheim, California? What do we have here in Anaheim, California? Can you say Knott's Berry Farm? It's Knott's Berry Farm Theme Park. A great place. I've been there. Been there many times. Then we also have Disneyland. Good old Disneyland. Thousands of people go there every day. There happens to be a seismograph at Disneyland. Or just outside Disneyland, I should say. Guess what? Anaheim is having just as many earthquakes as Long Beach. They're having as many earthquakes as Long Beach is having. Sometimes less, most times the same amount of earthquakes. Back to back. That's just two small cities in Los Angeles. Actually, it's not small, they're large cities in Los Angeles. And yet they're recording those kinds of earthquakes. There are other cities all over LA County, out in Orange County. Well, guess what? They're also recording earthquakes here. They're also recording earthquakes, as such as Rancho Cucamonga. Good old Rancho Cucamonga. How about Loma Linda Medical Center? Just south of Loma Linda Medical Center is a place called Mira Loma. There happens to be a seismograph over at Mira Loma. Yes, we have probably 100 earthquakes over at Mira Loma every day. There are thousands of earthquakes here in Southern California. Thousands of earthquakes throughout Southern California. And they try to put it off as nothing going on. They try to convince everybody that nothing's going on. But I guarantee you, folks, I guarantee you, there's a lot going on. That's not getting any better. This earthquake out here in Cabazon, being a 3.5, I will guarantee you, there's at least 6 or 7 aftershocks. There are at least 6 or 7 aftershocks right here. Guaranteed. And USGS is not even talking about it. Unreal. And my buddy Don Patoga here is a mod in my program, by the way. Guess what? He's saying frogs in a boiling pot. Can you imagine why Don Patoga would say frogs in a boiling pot? Guess what? How many millions of people live here in LA? How many people live here in LA? There is going to be a major earthquake here in Los Angeles very soon. That major earthquake may happen down here near the border with Mexico and California here. Why do I say that? Because, folks, on April 3rd, 2010, we had a major 7.1 earthquake that, again, scientists are now saying was probably closer than 8.0. Down here in Mexicali, Calexico. Mexicali to the south, and Calexico in California. 8.0 earthquake. You know what they call Guadalupe, Victoria, Mexico. At the time they called it 7.1, like I said. They're now saying it's probably closer to 8.0. Caused a lot of damage. Didn't kill anybody, caused a lot of damage. Shook all over Southern California. That earthquake was also felt out in Arizona. This earthquake was felt in Los Angeles. That earthquake was felt in Los Angeles. And guess what? Good old Ron, like I am, guess where I was? I was in San Diego at the time. I was helping conduct a disaster drill here in downtown San Diego. There was glass falling out of steel superstructures here. Skyscrapers. Glass falling out of windows in skyscrapers here. Hitting the ground and busting into millions of pieces here. Downtown San Diego. Instead of doing a disaster drill, they had to go real world. Whenever there's a disaster or an emergency during a disaster drill, we call real world. And then we deal with the emergency or disaster, which we did. Our disaster drill was supposed to be an earthquake. Guess what? We got the earthquake. We got the earthquake. I was right down here in San Diego City. Right down here near the Embarcadero of San Diego, California. I saw it happen. Okay? We've seen this happen before. We've seen it happen many times before. Charlene is here in the chat saying 8.0 massive damage. Yes. Creation of new fault zones, perhaps, yes. Yes, it did. Creation of new fault zones. The EMA cabinet says seismicity can spider fracture earthquake faults. Absolutely. That's what it did. That's exactly what it did. We saw it. Now, most of the time when I lived in San Diego County, I lived in a town called Poway. When I lived in Poway in a town called Lakeside, further to the south and east, I was able to feel. Actually, I also lived in a town called Vista. My first earthquake that I felt in San Diego County was in Vista, California. A 5.6 earthquake. My family and I lived in an adobe house that was built in 1907 with walls 6 inches thick. The walls moved. The walls and the glass inside the windows moved like ocean water waves. When I was able to escape the grasp of my wife at the time, I ran into the bedrooms of the house to check on our children. The children slept through the quake. Yet the ground in the house was bumping all over the place. 5.6 earthquake. Later, when I lived in Lakeside, there were 2 5.6 earthquakes there. One of them was a weekday and the other one was 7 a.m. on a Sunday. The one in Vista was at 7 a.m. on a Sunday, and one of the earthquakes in Lakeside was also a 5.6 on a Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Threw me out of bed. I told you the story before. Threw me out of bed. Guys, this happens. Seismic activity happens. This earthquake here is East County, San Diego. It's in a place called Alpine. Alpine is a remote area here out in the forested areas of East San Diego County. This is a 1.5 tremor out here in Alpine. Alpine is the only small town out here in the mountains of East San Diego County. I've hiked these mountains all over. This is 1.5 tremor in Alpine, California. Okay? That's what happened here. This is in Campo. Campo, this is southeast San Diego. Campo, it's just north of the Mexican border. North of the Mexican border. Does anybody have any questions about anything that we talked about? I know I've talked extensively about Cascadia because I'm very concerned that we're going to have multiple large earthquakes there. Multiple large earthquakes, and guess what that's going to do? Guess what that's going to do? It's going to cause harm, put people's lives in jeopardy, and on top of that, create all kinds of hate and destruction. It's going to happen. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm talking about what we're doing. I want to make sure that everyone knows what's going on. I want to make sure everybody knows what's going on. Again, we're trying to save lives here. We're trying to save lives. And that's the most important thing we can do. I'm going to continue to do this till I can't do it any longer. I will be here forever. I'll be here with all of you. Now, more than anything, I want you all to prepare for what's going to happen. Many of you may live in this earthquake area of Southern California or up in Washington or Oregon. You folks are going to see this and feel it. You guys are going to experience this. I want you all to be prepared. I want you all to be prepared. Now, I've gone here 2 hours. I'm sorry I went so long. I did not expect to be here more than an hour. Now it's been 2. Does anybody have any questions here? Charlena's here in the chat saying, scary when the ground rolls in waves under your feet with the realization you have no control and only seconds to react. And that is exactly what we're saying here. You have no control and only seconds to react. And that's the honest to gosh truth. You have only seconds to react. Don Patoga says he has many family members there as well. I do too. I have my son and several grandchildren and a stepdaughter, not a stepdaughter, but my son's wife lived there. I'm very concerned about their welfare. Why can I not talk tonight? Guys, please prepare. Please prepare. Share this program far and wide. Share it with your friends, your neighbors, your family and extended family. Share it with everybody that you know, including the people you work with and the people you associate with on social media. Share it far and wide. Ask people that you talk with about this program to come and watch this program and subscribe to this channel. Those of you that watch this program, please give us a thumbs up if you think this program is viable and worth it. We've been doing this for almost 6 years. I had one other channel prior to this, and YouTube took it down because I didn't do what they told me to do. I talked about COVID. Heaven forbid I talked about COVID. I talked about the jab. I didn't lie to anybody, but YouTube did. YouTube took down my channel. They slapped me around. I lost 1 day, then I lost a week of broadcasting, then I lost 2 weeks of broadcasting, then I lost a month of broadcasting, then they took my channel completely down. When they took it down, I started this channel right now. So I've been on YouTube 6 years, come April. I now have over 6,384 subscribers here. I would love to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of this year, and I think it can be done. We've done it before. Please, folks, subscribe to our channel. When you subscribe to it, there's something else you need to do. There's a little bell icon right next to the subscription button. Click on that. When you click on that bell icon, there'll be a drop-down menu of 3 items come up. Click on the word ALL. That should get you notified when we come on there. But be advised, again, YouTube doesn't like me, so they suppress the numbers. They don't always notify anyone when they come on the air. Rob 52 is constantly not being notified when we come on the air. He's one of my best friends. I talk to him all the time. Another dear friend of mine is Don Patoga. I talk to him as frequently as I can. He gets unsubscribed all the time. Once or twice during the week, he has to resubscribe to our channel. And when he resubscribes, he also has to click on that bell icon. And still, he will not get notified all the time when we come on the air. Please check this channel out. Usually during the week, we come on the air between 6 and 7 p.m. weekdays, Monday through Friday. If anything else happens between the time we leave the air and the next day, we'll still come on the air as soon as information becomes available that something has happened, such as last night's earthquake over in the Cascadia area. It was only a large quake. However, there was so much information pertaining to the large earthquake, I had to come out tonight, which I did. Again, we are going to have a major earthquake in the Cascadia subduction zone area. It's going to happen. That's probably going to happen more sooner than later. The Cascadia earthquake we're talking about is over 34 years past due. It's 34 years past due, meaning that Cascadia megathrust earthquake, the 9.0, 10.0 earthquake, it may cause a tsunami of 50 to 150 feet high or higher. Could happen any day. Could happen any day. I'm not trying to scare you. I want to notify you. I want to notify you. If anything else happens tonight, tomorrow, or the next day, as soon as the information becomes available, we'll go on the air about it. Today is a give me day. Okay? Usually I try to take Saturdays off to spend with my family, my wife, who I truly love. I'm telling you right now, I'm here because my wife knows it, number one. Number two, she encouraged me to share this information with you. That's how vital this information is. Now, do with it what you will. Please subscribe to our channel. Click on the notification bell to get notified when we come on the air. Subscribe, click on that, and also share this program far and wide. Let it go viral. I hope it does go viral. Now, tomorrow during the day, between 12 and 12:30 noon, I'll be coming back on the air with what I call Come Follow Me, the Savior Said. It's a weekly Sunday school class we do from between 12 and 12:30 every Sunday. Come on the air. We've been doing this for about 4 to 5 years now. We're probably close to 5 years now. Okay? I was first asked to teach the class during COVID because people couldn't go to church. The authorities locked down the churches and said, oh, you can't be that close. Well, guess what? The authorities lied. They lied through their teeth. Mr. Fauci in Washington, D.C. lied. He said we had to be 6 feet separated. He lied. He lied about COVID. He lied about having any part of developing the disease, developing the vaccine and everything. He lied through his teeth. He and the World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum, the New World Order kept us apart, kept us locked down, afraid for our lives. Those lies, nothing but lies. Joe Biden used the FBI to kick me off the air, told social media to control us, to censor us, our speech, lied through their teeth. I'm here to tell you, I'm here still, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm here for all of you. Now I ask God to bless you. I ask God to bless you with all the things you see you stand in need of. Let's say a special prayer for Linda Covington. Last Sunday she fell on her good hip, fractured her hip, and she was in surgery the other day. I haven't heard much from her sister or brother-in-law, but hopefully she's home recovering now. God bless our dear friend, Linda Covington. She's also an inspiration to all of us that know her. She's a dear family member to our program, and she loves each one of us. Each and every one of us. She's told me that specifically, and her sister and brother-in-law have also told me that. She loves our program, and she loves each one of you, our EMA family. Guys, I'm here for you. I've always been here for you. May God bless you. May God keep you. God be with you until we can meet again. We'll see you on the other side. See you tomorrow at noon. God bless. Take care. I love you very much. See you soon. Bye-bye.